Jim Harbaugh was freed, at least momentarily, on Monday morning, I should say, for his normal Monday press conference. I got to hear some of his thoughts on the game. He watched the game at Sharon Moore's house, and apparently Sharon Moore's wife made a terrific sandwich. Would love to sample that at some point, or at least
a
get
burger,
some
maybe
details on what that on a burger. Yeah,
is a burger a sandwich?
It is. A hot dog is not, however.
I agree with that. I agree.
I would say so too. Sandwich talk. It's dinner time, basically. You completely derailed there. So Jim Harbaugh came out and was able to speak to the media, summed up the game. He was pretty happy with the performance overall. We talked to Jay Harbaugh as well. We talked to Mike Hart. We talked to also Braden McGregor and Miles Hinton. Some interesting takeaways from all of those guys. But fellas, at least starting off with Harbaugh. Again, there were no soliloquies on the state of the sport today, but thoughts on what he had to say on Monday afternoon.
I thought he was in a great mood. Yeah, I thought he was in a great mood, and you'd love to see it. One thing that he said to me, Colonel Jim Minnick, a good friend of his, he said, texted him and said, you can really tell a lot about your men, about how they perform in your absence. And I thought that was pretty telling. It looked like Michigan, right? It looked like a Jim Harbaugh coached team with Jesse Minter out there and Kirk Campbell calling plays. I was really impressed, by the way, with Campbell's adjustments going to the pass, and they went to play action and moved the ball right down the field when they were stacking against the run, took advantage of what was there. So, but I think he was genuinely pleased. So it's not coach speak. He'll say, if there's something wrong, he'll say, yeah, we can work on that and so on and so forth. But he was pleased with the pass protection. He called it excellent. He was pleased with the pass rush. And again, I'm watching on film. I'm right there with him. So Michael Barrett did set the tone, guys, in this game, and he talked about him a little bit. Mike missed a couple of tackles later on, but he set the tone with some of his plays early on in that game and some of his hits. Really liked the linebacker play, and you could tell that he did too. He didn't even mention Ernest Hausman, who had a couple of big hits in there. So I think he's really pleased about what he saw, especially from JJ McCarthy, who, everybody thought it was hyperbole when he said he was a generational quarterback, but JJ McCarthy went out there and played like a generational quarterback. That was one of the best performances I've seen from a Michigan quarterback in terms of where he placed the ball, his poise in the pocket. Granted, and against that competition, it's going to get tougher. But this kid just has that moxie, man. That he's got it on and off the field like something really I don't think I've ever seen here, and I think that's saying something.
Yeah, with the caveat, like you said, that it's going to get tougher.
Mm-hmm.
I thought one of the biggest improvements that JJ made was his pocket presence. I mean, the way he was kind of sliding around back there. Again, there weren't bodies necessarily flying at him like there could be against some tougher opponents that have some better pass rushers, but keeping his eyes downfield, that sort of thing. And then the placement was perfect. And the best example of that is Roman Wilson saying he didn't even feel like he did anything special. He said, I thought I was just kind of running my routes and doing my job, and the ball was just showing up. And when you rewatch the game, it felt like that too. I mean, 2 of his touchdowns were basically a scramble drill. He kind of just cuts back inside, and JJ's right there with the ball. I mean, maybe there's a technicality actually on that first touchdown that it was good, because when he started his throw was behind or at the line of scrimmage from what some people are saying. So, but yeah, I mean, JJ was fantastic. I thought Harbaugh overall was pretty pleased with his team. I mean, there are things to nitpick, and I'm sure they're going to do that. And that's, something you almost want as a coach coming out of some of these games. And, like Mike Barrett, he definitely set the tone with a couple of hits. He also missed a couple tackles. And, there was kind of one play where I thought he kind of went too far inside, and he was trying to maybe make that TFL, gets burned, the guy gets outside of him. Well, now that's on film, and they can show, hey, Mike B, settle down in there. You're trying to set the tone. We love it, but you got to have outside contain here. So those sorts of things are going to be cleaned up. But overall, Jim Harbaugh, watching from the couch there at Sharon Moore's, I think really liked what he saw, and seemed to enjoy his sandwich. That's good as well. And overall, like, they're going to build on this. It's going to be another this type of game, I think, on Saturday. But they seem like right now pretty close to looking very, very good. And they set the bar pretty high in the opener.
Yeah, I think the McCarthy performance in particular is one that the further we get out from it. Again, I know there are obvious level of competition caveats to it. East Carolina was ranked, I believe, 129 in pass defense last year. So, but that's what you're supposed to do against a bad secondary, is shred them, right? And the ball barely touched the ground. He was as poised and as in command of the offense as I've ever seen him. The touch was good. That third touchdown in particular to Roman Wilson was just, about as good of a throw as you could deliver in there. So, again, I think Michigan knows that, and I want to talk about the running backs here in a second, but the coaches know that they're going to be able to run the football. Like, there's a pretty well-established floor there. We know, I assume at some point the offensive line, they'll find a five-guy combination that they like. We know that those backs will shake the rust off, which, looks like there was a little bit of it. We can talk about what Mike Hart had to say about Blake Corum here in a second, but JJ is going to determine the ceiling of this football team. And everything that they've said about him, it's not hyperbole. I think he has a chance really to be the most talented quarterback that's ever put on that Michigan uniform. And Jim Harbaugh and the coaching staff seem to feel that way as well.